Cool. So,
So we are here today. I'm Mina Tobias.
Sly Alexis.
We are two of the four co-founders at Don't Mind Me, a
Mhm.
family-founded nonprofit. And today I'm really excited to have this conversation because I feel like we've talked a lot about the family story and why we started Don't Mind Me.
Yep.
But a lot of the times it's us talking about our experience, but you're the one with the lived experience, and
Yeah.
it seems important to talk about it from your perspective.
Okay.
And first off, I always want to say thank you for allowing us to talk about your
Yeah.
personal experience.
I saw your recent podcast where you're bringing up the story a little bit. So,
Yeah.
It's pretty spot on. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not easy. I don't even know if I would be able to allow other people to talk about something that I went through in the way that you have. So I think it takes a really big person to do that.
My thing is like, I put it out there so much as common knowledge. I don't necessarily mind people. The more people talk about it, the better. Actually, probably honestly.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess so. Let's start from the beginning. So I don't know how early you wanted to start it, but I guess it would be good to just kind of give the background of your journey into mental health and what led us here.
Yeah, it's almost like an AA share a little bit, like the beginning, middle, and end kind of thing, like where you came from, what you're doing now, and where you're going to end up kind of thing, I guess. So kind of how I got into mental health.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I had any signs like early. I would say like around 19 is when I first started to notice like real, like life-changing episodes. Like not just like, oh, I'm upset because I didn't get this or that, but an actual unmanageable crisis that I had within myself. I remember you talking about saying it took off when that kid jumped. So to explain, because I was trying to think, did it happen even earlier? But I was going downhill from about 18, and around 19, there was this situation with the kid that I was walking home with my friend, and a kid took his life, right in front of me. So I was walking home. This was in college, and we heard footsteps on the roof, and we saw this thing fall. We thought it was a mattress. We ran up, and it turned out that a kid had jumped off a roof and landed on his face, and I like turned him over, and his face had been torn up, and I was like trying to talk to him, and he couldn't say anything because his lips had been, it was like some real wartime carnage. And I smile about it now because I've kind of gotten to the other side of it, and I know he's in a better place. But yeah, it doesn't change the fact that it was tough to see. It was tough to witness. It was seeing the carnage coupled with not being able to save him. So there's a little bit of trauma from both of those things. And I don't like to admit, or at least I didn't, how much it affected me. At the time I was like, oh, it didn't affect me. And in my own mind, it wasn't, but everyone else could see that it definitely had an effect on me. My drinking increased. I guess my mental stability started to go a little bit. Once the drinking got worse, the mental stability got worse, because that's just how it goes when you're drinking and using as an addict with a mental health disorder. It doesn't affect me much now, but it did take a lot of counseling, therapy, so I've definitely overcome it. But it was important for me, and I'm kind of grateful. I do have a relationship with a higher power, and I'm grateful that it put it in my life. Not that I want to see that necessarily, but I grew from it, and then whatever happened was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But exactly the way it did. So, yeah.
You talk about that you felt like it could have started before this, or that there was already some maybe instability. What do you mean by that? When do you feel like maybe whether it was substances or how we reacted to things, what do you feel like could have been the beginning if it wasn't that?
Yeah, so I'm really trying to pin down when it all started going down the tubes. So in high school, I was pretty smooth. My drinking and using wasn't really that out of control. So everything was kind of, and it's hand in hand. substance abuse and mental health go hand in hand. So the only reason I didn't have symptoms earlier, I'm guessing, is because I didn't really start drinking heavily until I got to college. So like around 18, my drinking increased. I hadn't really gotten into weed. It was when I started smoking weed, which was regularly, which is around 19. So 18, 19.
Before this incident happened, it was still...
Before the incident happened, I was already going down a pretty dark path. And this just kind of kicked
yeah.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people ask whether it's like friends who've experienced it themselves or they have a family member or a loved one who has some kind of mood disorder. A lot of people ask, like, was there signs earlier on, like when you were a kid? Do you feel like you ever felt there were tremors of this when you were in childhood, or do you feel like it really started in your late teens?
It really started 18, 19. I don't think I really had... I was a pretty normal kid. I had ADHD, well, supposedly I had ADD, ADHD, but I never really got properly diagnosed with it, and I don't think I ever really had it.
Right.
So it was kind of out of left field for a lot of people, including myself. That's the scary thing, is that it could have no warning, and just out of nowhere, it just falls in your lap.
Yeah, something I had heard from a therapist was, because I feel like, and I'm sure you experienced this, and I've thought about it, where it's like, what if that event never happened? Where, what if that triggering event didn't happen and bring out a mental health issue? And what I had heard from this therapist was that when it comes to bipolar disorder, that it'll present itself at some point regardless.
Exactly, that's what I think.
Does that how do you sit with that? Like, do you ever feel that, like, what if moments, and that, how things would have presented differently? Do you ever like sit in that sometimes? Yeah,
the butterfly effect. If I go back in time and remove that instance, would I have it? In my opinion, 100%. Yes, I would. It just would have come up with another trigger
in a different way.
Some other trigger would have done it. Yeah.
So can you talk about dual diagnosis? You talked about that the substance use started even before this, and that definitely has been a hand-in-hand part of your journey with, especially earlier on, like self-medicating. Can you talk about what having both substance use and bipolar looks like together for you? Like, how have you gone through accepting that and managing both?
It's hard. Without, for me, proper medication has been crucial. I have to have really solid self-care, and it kind of sounds like a prima donna, like, oh, I have to take care of myself, or I just can't show up, like, you know what I mean? Like, but for me, like, because one little thing could lead to something dramatic popping up, and like I have to make sure all my ducks are counted. I have to be really careful, but without medication and going to AA meetings, having a recovery community, and if you have a mental health diagnosis and you're not an alcoholic, there's still groups like NAMI, but having some sort of community that holds you accountable and that you can call. So community recovery is huge. You can't recover by yourself. You may be able to do a lot of things by yourself, but recovering from drug addiction and mental health, gotta have a community. What was
the journey of acceptance in AA like for you? Because if I'm remembering correctly, I feel like, and it's probably still not perfect for everybody, and I'm sure there's things that people agree with and don't agree with, but like, did you just accept it right away and you're like, this is great? Or did you have some maybe defiance, or what was that like going into AA?
I was like, and it's the cliche, like, this isn't for me, it's not that bad, I can control it, I can control my drinking and not be taken over by it, and these people don't understand me. Like in the program I talk about, they say it's being terminally unique. So when everyone gets in the rooms at first, they think they're just on an island. They're the only ones, no one gets them. And I had to understand that we're all the same. And it went from being no one is like me to I'm like everyone else. But that just takes maturity and growth
Yeah.
in the program. And some people go right in and are like, cool, I'm here.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, especially younger guys, they're like, nah, like, I don't have a problem.
Do you
Denial.
think it's harder for guys or teens? Like, is it harder when you're late teens, early 20s to accept a program like that, do you think? Or is it really just individual things?
It is. It's like it's more common than not that right away you're gonna buck up against it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in their late teens and early 20s are like, I still got some years to party. Like I can't quit now.
Right.
So like you see a lot of young guys still out there. I mean, I'm still fairly young, but it took me till I was 30, 31. But all those factors kind of make it hard for people coming in
Yeah.
to just get it right away. Like it's tough.
How has your relationship changed, or has it, with like being a sponsor, having a sponsor? Was that a difficult thing to accept, like having somebody mentor you, I guess? Like were you trusting enough to really accept that?
At first, I didn't even know what a sponsor was at first, but once I figured out what it was,
and I guess actually, can you, to anybody that doesn't know what that is, having a sponsor, all of that, what is that relationship?
Yeah, like a sponsor is like a mentor in a recovery program, a 12-step recovery program that guides you through the 12 steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, so getting a sponsor at first, and then once I started getting into treatment, they used to kind of force us to go. And thank God they did, because I got some experience, but then it just became going through the motions to not get in trouble, which is kind of a strategy.
Yeah.
It's kind of a strategy, but and then sponsoring people, because we always say you gotta give it to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're not sponsoring somebody, you're not really keeping everything. You gotta be actively giving it forward. And so that, since I'm fully bought in now, that's an easy concept to wrap my head around, and I have a sponsor, or a sponsor and a sponsee.
Right. You've been through a lot of different types of treatment, whether it's psychiatric hospitals, rehabs, long-term residential.
Yeah. Sober livings.
Sober livings.
Yep.
I think on our end as the family, we've seen how difficult it is to even find a place. And you're looking online, you're asking people, you're getting referrals, you find somewhere, they don't have beds, they don't take your insurance. So we know that side, and we've kind of talked about how frustrating that is, and I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah.
What is it like for you when you're in a manic episode and you're getting taken from place to place, or you're in a psychiatric hospital alone, and what is that experience like when you go from being out in the street or home or whatever, and you have a manic episode, your family sweeps in and puts you somewhere? What's going on in your mind when you're in treatment?
When I'm in treatment, well, in an episode, it's hard to explain to somebody that has never felt it, although some people do exhibit signs of mania. Like not to the point of bipolar, but like people have mood swings.
Right.
So some people can relate maybe, but when I'm in an episode, I'm incapacitated. You know what that means?
Explain it.
Basically, like I have no ability to take care of myself or think coherently, or I don't know what's going on. Like usually I'm in some sort of psychosis or hallucination, and I don't really fully comprehend reality. So sometimes I just feel like I just end up places, and I don't know how I got there. But once I kind of sober up and get coherent, I get a little upset. Like, damn, like, why did I come here in the first place? I was cool. I was killing it. And like, why am I here?
Well, because a part of mania is a lot of euphoria too, right? So it can feel like you're on drugs, even if you're not. You feel that feeling of a high, of that you're on top of the world. So is there some of that coming down from that, of like, I was doing amazing, what am I doing here?
A lot of it is I guess you could say denial and like delusion. Like, I don't belong here. I don't know why I was brought here. You see that so many times. Patients are always like, what am I doing here? I don't belong here. But it's like people don't just randomly scoop people up.
Right.
and put them in psych wards. Like there's always a reason. Come on, you're trying to tell me like you were chilling on your couch and someone just grabbed you.
Yeah.
There's a reason why. It takes a lot to end up in a psychiatric hospital.
Yeah.
But that took me a while to really comprehend. But
When you're in mania and psychosis, from what because I know sometimes you don't remember a lot of stuff too, right? Because your memory is definitely affected when you're in that manic episode.
True.
From what you can remember, because you talk about like hallucinations and stuff like that, do you ever feel afraid? Do you feel?
The funny thing was, I didn't think I ever had an hallucination until my mom told me. She was talking about, I remember this, I was in a treatment center in Pasadena, and I was being taken to a hospital, and she said that I was seeing white butterflies like come up, and I remember like not being in an area where there were any, that it had to have been imaginary. That was one where I was like, that could have been a hallucination, but now I'm actually remembering the only one I can really fully remember. I was in a waiting room to get in to a hospital, and I was hallucinating that there was a beach outside, and I could see it. I could see the beach, and I was like walking out the door, like there's a beach right there. It was just a street. But I don't really have a whole lot of hallucinations, but warped reality, I guess, maybe more so.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the beach sounds peaceful. So
Yeah,
it sounds like it was.
That's why I was going
all
there.
good. Like, let's get over there.
Yeah.
So, as we know, a lot of mental health issues come up for people in their late teens and early 20s.
Yep.
A lot of the times when you either are going to college for the first time, or you're leaving that house out of high school and starting work, or whatever that looks like. And, excuse me, I imagine that for a lot of people, your friend group and your social life is, the most important thing in your life at that time.
Oh yeah, sure.
What was it like going through this?
Because I was in a fraternity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like going through all of this while you were leaving school or having these episodes and people were concerned about you? Was there this like social pressure to not talk about it, to present as fine? Were you worried about what people thought about you? What did that feel like?
No one was rude or mean to me, but there was a disconnect. Which makes sense, because I don't know if they knew what to do. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I'm sure that didn't feel good for you.
Hey, I definitely got a little bit ostracized. I don't want to use that word, but I separated myself kind of from the group.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anyone to talk to. Like, not really.
Yeah.
There are a few people I could have confided in. I didn't even know what the problem was. I didn't think I had a problem, and B, if someone said I did, I couldn't identify it.
Yeah.
So, lack of knowledge.
How is that different than how you are today? Because now, obviously, you've built a community within the mental health world. You work in the mental health world. You're a certified peer specialist.
Yeah.
And so you're surrounded by people that have either have a diagnosis or have gone through treatment and they get it. And I feel like now you have such a good community around you. So, what is that contrast like now to how you talk about if you're going through something versus when you were younger and felt like you didn't have anybody?
Yeah, and also having a therapist. But I definitely, what's so cool about the AA experience is like, we're all kind of the rejects. So like we all kind of get each other, and no one's really ever ostracized or felt made to feel weird or a burden. Like we all kind of get each other, so it's really easy to, at least in my group of friends, to like talk about tough stuff that could be on your mind. Yeah.
Do you feel like your group is mostly men, right? That at least that you're close with. It's other men who have been through mental health. Or
Mostly guys.
What is the dynamic like? Because I feel like there's a lot of conversation around how, like, and it might even be men's mental health month?
June, I think, right?
June. Oh, so we just missed it. Well, with that in mind.
Yeah.
There is always a conversation around that men have a harder time opening up. They have a harder time being vulnerable because it's, there's all the stigma around being seen as weak or unable to, like, whatever. And obviously that's not your experience because you're in a community of men who all work together, who've all been through it, maybe at some point alone, but now have all, really banded together. So what do you feel like the dynamic is between guys talking about your mental health? Are there still barriers even within your group?
Within my group, sometimes it can be hard. Maybe this is just how masculinity is taught nowadays. There's still a little bit of a like, I don't want to burden so and so with this. Like, I'll just take care of it myself. There's still a little bit of that lingers in, but we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
So there isn't too much of a problem bringing stuff up. Yeah.
So fast forwarding to now, like post-pandemic. So we started our foundation in 2021, and that was 10 years after what happened in college and the journey of mental health. And we wanted to talk about our story and use advocacy, and that didn't feel like enough. So then we wanted to create our, scholarship, getting people into treatment because it's so expensive. And now we're developing our own treatment center.
Mm-hmm.
How has the foundation and working with the family with Don't Mind Me, has it helped your mental health journey at all? How has it evolved? Has it changed it at all?
Yeah, so like going back to the whole you got to give it to keep it, I now have the ability to give back to my family who took care of me the most primarily. I have a chance, an avenue now to give back, and then not only with just the family, but like all the people that we reach as an organization. It gives me an avenue to give it, and I can keep it, because of that. Yeah, so it's a blessing.
Yeah.
And I never thought that something amazing would come out of 10 years of like mental illness. Like I didn't really think anything great would come from it. I just thought it would just be a lot of struggle, and it is a lot of struggle, but something great did come from it.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
I'm always very curious about this because I've talked to a lot of people who have lived experience. And by the way, we all have lived experience to some degree. Like everybody,
even if you don't know it.
Exactly. And whether it has a label or not, we all have our own mental health struggles, especially with everything going on in the world and surviving a pandemic. Like everybody's kind of experienced something, but it's obviously a spectrum.
Yep.
And I've talked to a lot of people on all sides of the spectrum, and a lot of people really reject the label of serious mental illness. How does it feel for you? Like, do you welcome the label of mental illness, or is it something that I would imagine, because from what I've heard from other people say that they're like, I don't like the label of I'm mentally ill, because that makes it seem like there's something really wrong with me when I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
What do you feel about the label?
I kind of almost owned it, and I kind of almost became proud of it, because I was able to meet and study and research so many people that had what I have and are doing such great things. So luckily I was able to be exposed to some amazing people that too have bipolar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, like I'm actually kind of proud to be a part of that group of people.
Right.
To have something just like them. So yeah, almost pride in them.
Yeah.
In a way, yeah. Yeah.
It definitely felt like having the label of, okay, these symptoms are under the bipolar umbrella. It helps you have a blueprint of how to move forward, how to treat it, what medications to use. So I imagine it's helpful in that sense. But I could really also empathize with that. It stings. Like I imagine, especially if it's early on and you get that, and you're technically in the SMI category, that would be hard to accept for some people.
Yeah. At first, some people never really accepted. At first I didn't. I'm not gonna lie. Like I didn't want to accept it at first. It did take a while.
Yeah.
For me to accept it. But it's almost kind of easy. It's just kind of easy. Like, I have so and so, and there's a name for it, and there's a whole pamphlet on exactly what happens, and it's like, I relate to that close enough. Like, it's just easier. It's just easy to be like, yeah, bipolar, that's cool. I don't think about it too hard.
Yeah.
I just kind of believe what people tell me. I didn't used to believe anything, but it took a lot of research
Yeah.
to come to a point where I was like, yeah, this makes sense. I have it, and I'm proud of it. You know, yeah.
And I imagine that a big part of the rejection or like the fear of the label is just the stigma attached to it.
Yeah.
Because as you're saying, and like you're surrounded by people that have similar diagnoses, and you've lived through it, and you know it's not this scary thing, and all these people have amazing lives. So I imagine for you now, the label doesn't feel like this scary thing, but for others, they don't want to feel ostracized or.
I was gonna say it's taboo still. Not gonna lie. Like, should it be? Maybe not. But just keeping it real as a human being, like, I have to be a little bit careful who I open up to right away about, whether it be a partner or a friend, because not a lot of people know much about it other than, oh, he must be crazy then, or oh, you know, like,
Yeah.
they'll immediately, a lot of people are uneducated, so you do have to be careful with certain people,
Yeah.
but that's okay. Tact.
Yeah.
I guess,
Yeah,
right?
discernment, as always,
Yeah.
with anything.
Manners.
Yeah. And I think we've all seen that anybody that kind of does have that, like,
Yeah.
that reaction, 9 times out of 10, give them a couple of years, and all of a sudden they come back and they're like, hey, my mom is you know, feeling this way, and all of a sudden now they're like, I didn't realize that this is what it is, but now I've seen it firsthand and I want to
Yeah.
help, or I need help.
That happened with my ex that I had years ago. But basically, we split up because I had a manic episode, and she kind of looked down upon me for it. And then a couple years later, she called me and she was like, "I also got diagnosed with bipolar. I was in a psych ward, and I also have a drug addiction issue. And
Wow.
I'm sorry if I ever judged you." And I was like, "Wow."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's given you the ability to be patient and more empathetic with people, knowing that this is like has been a reoccurring experience of like, if somebody, even if it's like it doesn't feel good if somebody rejects that or pushes it away,
Yeah.
but then so many times they come back with their own personal experience. So do you feel like that's changed how you give other people grace to understand it, or does it still hurt the way it always would?
Oh, yeah. I don't expect people to know as much as I do, or certain people in my life. So there's definitely a lot of grace that I've built up, maybe, that
Yeah.
giving people grace. It's hard at first when you're an angry, young, wild kid, like, oh, you should understand, and like, F you for not getting me.
Mhm.
But as you get older, you kind of realize, like, not everybody knows fully. So
Yeah.
it's like, you know, they just don't know.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah.
Well, hopefully as things change and hopefully with what we're doing. Hold on. Give me a sec. Okay. All right. Stop. Stop it. Stop it. As mental health continues to be a larger and larger part of the conversation, and people are now more open to it because they've had their own lived experience, it'll keep changing. But on that note, at Don't Mind Me, we're developing our own treatment center, and it's inspired by this journey of seeing what works and mostly what doesn't. That there's so many places that are not accessible, they're not affordable, there's like 30, 60 days, you're supposed to be fixed in that time for the low price of $100,000. People change your medications because you're going from one treatment center or one, you know, clinical team to the next, and they're not communicating, like just so many things. And we've all been in this conversation about how we want to create a campus where you're taken through all levels of care, and all of that information, it's a warm handoff, you're with the same team through residential and outpatient. So with that in mind, with what we're doing with our treatment center campus, and just in general what we're hoping will be the change in mental health reform, you have the patient perspective, you've been through it yourself. What do you feel like could be changed that makes the patient experience better in mental health treatment?
I would say having a dual diagnosis option in one center, like in one, because not everybody is an addict, and not everybody but may have a mental health issue. It may not everyone is both. Some people have one or the other. So having a dual diagnosis option or track, I think, is important to have within, because there's some places that have like a center that's just mental health, and then another center that they also own that may be a different company or sister company that has drug addiction, but to actually have a dual diagnosis in one facility, I think it was very important. I haven't seen a whole lot of that.
Yeah.
I actually haven't seen.
What do you feel like
many.
having it in the same space will make better from the patient perspective?
Because a lot of it overlaps.
Yeah.
Some therapists and some group leaders, and a lot of it overlaps. So, yeah, that's something that I would see how it goes, because
Yeah.
there's still a lot of new aspects of recovery that we're just now starting to put into place. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens, but
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
definitely like a lot of siloing, even in mental health, but also in
Yeah.
addiction, where it's like you're saying, you go to one place where everyone's an expert in addiction, but maybe they're not as well versed in mental health, and same thing with mental health, they're not as well versed in addiction. So it is interesting that it's almost treated like two different things. But we were actually just talking about this on a podcast recently. Who the host, she had been through treatment, and she was saying like addiction is mental health. It's all under the umbrella.
Right,
so to
right.
really have clinicians and therapists that can do both would be helpful.
I think so. But I always, when things started changing for me, is when I started to embody the slogan, "It works if you work it." I look back, and I could have gotten it at any of the treatment centers I went through. I could have went through them and gotten sober and stayed sober. Any single one of the of my history, I could have gotten it at any one. It just took me a while to actually work it.
Yeah, you have to believe it
Yeah.
to really. That's interesting, because that was another conversation we were having. Was, the question was like, what do you do if somebody needs help or is
Yeah.
like actively relapsing?
Yeah.
But like, what do you do as that person? How do you step in? How can you get them to hear you? And I was saying that it really is a timing thing, because it's like you can't
It is.
fix it for them. They have to be ready to accept that help. Obviously, if it's a crisis, do whatever you like. That's a whole different thing. Get them into treatment. But when it comes to the timing of it all, it really is like, are they ready to go through it and to be open
Yeah.
or not?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that like, let's say it's a sponsee or a friend that comes to you that's going through a mental health issue?
Yep.
How are you there for them? How do you get them help?
Sharing my experience. Sharing experience and coming from a level of, I relate to what you're going through. I think it's so important when you're helping somebody to come from a level, because a lot of times when you ask someone for help, it's almost like you're going up. Like, can you grab my hand and pull me up?
Yeah.
But being in it together
Yeah.
is like, it takes that away. It's that huge.
And the person, like, if somebody's coming to you, you have that fear. Like, you want to fix it. You want to make it better for them.
Because a lot of people have pride.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to ask someone for help, because they're
Right.
just gonna.
But then,
Be
yeah,
above
and it's
me.
like, and a lot of people, I feel like, are driven by fear to force somebody to do something that maybe they're not ready to. And like
Yeah.
you're saying, a lot of the times it's just listening to them in the moment,
Yeah.
and knowing that you're a safe place, so
Yeah.
that when they are ready, they will come to you.
Mhm.
And you do that by sharing your experience,
Yeah.
being vulnerable.
Yeah.
As far as working with your family, how has that been?
It's been great. I get along with y'all, so it works.
Do you ever, and I just wonder this as a sister, where you are the reason we do this. And so again, we talk about you a lot and talk about your experience a lot.
Yeah.
And I always worry that I'm like, I don't want to be saying things that you're not comfortable with, or making you feel I don't want to, because you often joke that you're the mascot, but like
Me, yeah.
but in like I always want to make sure that we're never crossing that boundary. But do you ever have, how does it feel to like kind of be put on the spot a lot about a very vulnerable experience?
Now that, I mean, even before, but now that I know that what I share is directly helping people, it makes it inspiring. I'm like, I welcome it. Like, put me on the spot. Like, ask anything. You know, like, I want to actually help. And going back to that whole like being proud,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't bother me. It doesn't, you know?
Taco agrees.
Yeah.
So I guess I think a lot of the times, and thank you for being so open about, you know, a very traumatic experience, and it's been a long ride and it'll continue to be. There's no fix to any of this, and we all are going to have ups and downs.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's always good to end on a positive note about, you know, whether it's how you feel like your effect has been on people, or have you seen a lot of improvements in mental health. But I guess to kind of just wrap things up, what do you feel like is a really positive aspect to your experience or to the foundation moving forward?
Yeah, well, I think sometimes, like, and people have asked me, like, would you go back and do it differently? And a lot of times, I would have changed this or that. But now, like, now that I'm here now, I'm like, nah, I wouldn't change anything. Could I have changed all the pain and hurt? Maybe I would, but it all had to happen. It had to happen the way it did. And now that I've been given a platform to recover and then to give it back, I'm just really grateful that it's all happened the way it has. Yeah.
And on that note, you're now working in mental health. You've become a peer specialist. What do you hope to do? Do you want to continue to work in the mental health space? Do you want to be
I think it's my calling.
Yeah.
I think it's my calling. A lot of the jobs I've had like regular restaurant jobs and stuff, but I just always seem to get a lot of attention for like mental health jobs. Like I seem to always get hooked up with one somehow. It just always happens. So it's kind of almost like, I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah.
Because a lot of, like, a peer specialist, for example, do you have to have some kind of lived experience to
have to?
Yeah, so it's
a
like
requirement as a job.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Which is great, though. It's like that's what you need, because you know, imagine you're talking to your 18-year-old self. You wouldn't listen to anybody who hadn't had that experience and has gone through it.
I wouldn't listen to anybody at 18, but still.
It might have had a moment of who knows, but yeah, and I think a big thing that we're seeing is just there is such a lack of people that go into the mental health field. We need more psychiatrists, psychologists, peer specialists.
It can mess you up a little bit if you're not prepared.
Yeah. What would you say to encourage people to go into the field, whether that's going to school and becoming a therapist, but we need more? So what would be something that you've seen working in the field now that would encourage people to be a part of it?
It's rewarding. It's really rewarding. To like see the journey of somebody come in who's unstable and stabilize and get their life together. Yeah. There's nothing like seeing it. You watch a broken leg heal, it's like cool, like, you know, that's cool. But there's something so dramatic and like amazing about somebody who doesn't have sanity to like gain it back and then function. Yeah. Highly. Yeah. It's amazing.
Anything else you wanted to bring up, or any questions for me?
Any questions? Yeah, how do you feel? Because, I mean, you've seen me go through this. Like, how does it feel now to be on the giving end, now that you're able to help people? Like, what's that been like?
You know, so very positive, and I think like, I'm an artist now, and I've said, like, since we started the foundation, I'm so glad that I've had it just selfishly, because if just being in entertainment and the arts are so up and down, and you feel very out of control of your life, and I feel like having the foundation, having something that's very purpose-driven, mission-driven, meeting amazing people through it, has been such a godsend, and I'm so happy that that's been something that I've been able to do alongside the things that also make me happy on the creative side. I've also just really enjoyed working with the family. It's like,
Yeah.
who would have thought that we would have all been working together in this way? But like
Yeah.
you said, things happen the way they happen.
Yeah.
And I think mom and dad and you have all done an amazing job of working together and being honest, and like we've talked about, that we've now gone into therapy and are much more aware of our own mental health because of you. Like,
Okay.
and I've
Yep.
said this before too, where I'm like, I don't think I would have ever gone into therapy
Really?
if you didn't pave the way,
Interesting.
because I didn't think I needed it. And then just through, going down this path, it's now allowed us to be more honest with ourselves too.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
well, happy
Good
almost
stuff.
birthday.
Thank you. Appreciate you
The
having
big
me on.
3-3.
Yeah.
Having you on the speaker series.
Yeah.
And we'll wrap it up with if this reaches anybody who is going through a mental health struggle right now and relates to any of this and needs help, we really encourage you to check out our resource page. We have a lot of resources that are very specific to all different things that you might be struggling with. And beyond that, we're just really thankful to have this community that helps us when we need it, and we're there to help when you need it. So please make sure to take care of yourself, and like I always say, have grace with yourself too, whether it's you going through it or you're helping somebody through it.
Yeah.
That you're going to make mistakes, it's going to be messy, and that's okay. That's what we're all doing, and just continue to be there for each other.
Cool.
Thanks for watching. Bye.